and welcome to the PT Daily Show. I was going to check with Facebook. Beautiful. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PT Daily Show. My name is Christina Previtt. I'm one of two lead faculty for the modern management of the older adult division. We have 3 courses in our curriculum. We have our MMOA live course. It's a 2-day intensive lab-focused live course that we take all over the US and Canada once borders start to open up. And then we have our 2 online courses, Modern Management of the Older Adult Essential Foundations and Advanced Concepts. If you are looking to get into any of those courses, we are hitting the road running in 2022. I'm in Benton the second week of January. Then we're in Hendersonville at Onward, Tennessee, the week after that. And so if you were looking, the Michigan course, I believe, is the 15th, and the Tennessee course is the 22nd. I might have those dates slightly mixed up. If you're looking to get in, you can get on to those courses at ptnx.com. /older adult, and our online courses are filling up pretty quickly too. Okay, so I'm gonna apologize if my sound is a little bit off and you're seeing me kind of go back and forth if you're watching this live. I have 2 cameras set up, my phone and for Instagram and my computer for Facebook, because I wanted to do a little bit of a demo. We were in Oakland this past weekend. We got contracted in to go to a home health group. We were working with Kaiser out in Oakland, California, and we were working with a lot of we had 2 outpatient clinicians, but we were working with primarily home health clinicians, occupational therapists, and physical therapists. And when we started introducing some of these concepts and constructs, especially when we first started talking about this, there's a lot of people who would say to us, well, Christina, like, I work in a SNF setting, or I work in long-term care. Like, there's no way that I could be doing this type of work with my older adult clients. It's just not really that appropriate. And we're like, ha 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 ha. We absolutely can. And we talk a lot about being masters of scale. We've done previous episodes about how to take programming that you might think is for the outpatient clinician or is for the outpatient clinician to use with their older adult clients, and to scale it back for home health and to scale it back again for SNF. So we're gonna do that again today for power training, because right now we know that power training is extremely beneficial for the older adults, with some of the justification being that, 1, loss of power and loss of strength are both independent predictors of loss of mobility and independent function in older adults. We know that type 2 muscular fibers are lost and atrophy faster than our type 1 endurance fibers. So we need to be activating those quick, fast response twitch fibers so that we're maintaining as much of that neuromuscular efficiency and preventing any pruning of those motor units as much as we can for as long as possible with our older adults. And power tends to decline faster. So this might be an important consideration when we're thinking about falls prevention, because that reactive strength to internal and external perturbations is a very important system and a skill that our older adults need in order to maintain their body upright with their center of mass within their basic support when we're thinking about preventing a fall when we have that perturbation. Okay, so in terms of prescription, when we're thinking about power training, we're thinking about lower external load or no external load at all. We're gonna think about lower volume, and the difference is we wanna be doing things as quickly as possible. So that speed component is extremely important. We're gonna talk about different options. In the course, we talk about implementing power training in 3 different ways. So we can take what we're already doing and speed it up. We can jump, or we can work on power-specific movements. So power-specific movements, we're thinking about some of the things like the Olympic lifts, and we're gonna go over some things like the dumbbell snatch today for some of our seated clients. Also, one of the reasons why this is important is for impact management for older adults. We know that especially as women transition through menopause and we go into that estrogen deficient state, we see that reduction in bone mineral density that occurs, and therefore we want to make sure that we're trying to maintain impact through the bones so that we don't have that generalized loss and acceleration towards osteopenia and osteoporosis. So we were talking a lot this weekend about different examples. I love teaching this course because I get to learn different ideas from each of you. I get to learn from our TAs. Alex Germano and Julie Brower are both in the home health acute setting, so they've taken this a lot and modified it for their lower level clients. And now we have this list of exercises that we can start using when it comes to our older adults. So first up, take what we're already doing and speed it up. For our clients who are in sitting, so this is our more wheelchair-bound client or those with very, very low standing endurance. This is where I actually really like using a TheraBand. So we can get you as a therapist holding onto the TheraBand, and if I'm doing like a row, right, think seated TheraX or a lat pull down, what's to say that we can't implement power training by getting them to speed it up, right? Quick rows, quick lat pull downs, bicep curls, do quick reps to start implementing some upper extremity power work. We're maybe thinking, oh, well, I can't really do deadlifts or speed deadlifts with them. Well, we might be able to do at least some hinging. So we're not obviously going to get some of that glute activation as much in a seated position as we would in a standing position. However, when we have a client who's predominantly sitting and we can start working on some of that trunk control and stability by applying an external or internal perturbation through speed changes, we can actually do a lot of good and we can actually be working on a lot of different systems at the same time. So one of the things that we will have individuals do, and I wish I would have had the forethought before I put live to get a band, but we can oftentimes, even without a band, start doing some hinging, some forward reaching. You can have them forward reaching if you're in the acute care setting to a tray, pushing that tray away. And what's not to say that we can't push the tray really quickly and then bring it back. Push the tray really quickly and bring it back. For our clients that can't sit, we're starting to get that power training, almost thinking about like sleds and prowler training for the lower level client, and beautiful, we can start getting that. We can also get a TheraBand underneath our feet and start doing some quick hip hinges in sitting, putting that underneath and trying to get them to go as quickly as possible. They're as quickly as possible, maybe very, very close to what they would be doing, quote unquote, normal speed. And that's just showing you that their reserve between normal speed and fast speed is very limited, which means their ability to react to any sort of perturbation, they don't really have that much left in the tank to ramp up if they needed to. We're starting to see this in the gait speed literature as well, where the reserve or the difference between the fast gait speed and the usual gait speed score kind of gives us that idea of if we are crossing the street and all of a sudden a car is coming and we have to speed up for our older adult community ambulators, how much capacity do our older adults have to do that? And so this is another way for us to be getting an idea too about the amount of resiliency and reserve that our older adults may have, and working on boosting that reserve so that if something was to happen or as they start to return to a little bit more function, we'll be able to do that. So taking this from a seated patient to a mid-mod assist, kind of that home health avatar that we talked about in the live course. This would be Doris. We have 3 avatars in the live course. We have Anna, our community dwelling older adult, Doris, our more homebound older adult, and Bill, who's our lower level of function folk. And so where this is kind of going into that middle of the line, if you can get them in standing, over here, then same thing. We can be using that TheraBand, have the walker around, even have one hand on the walker. Let me see if I can change this back a little bit so you can see me. So and then row really quick. Right, holding on to the walker, you can change the angle depending on what is most appropriate for that person. I'm taller than I think I am, and then have that speed component. I also really like when my client is coming in and think that they're fatigued and they don't really want to do any sort of relatively heavy loading. Power is a great way to get a good bang for your buck with a lot of these exercises. All right, now let's go to the creme de la creme. We teach the dumbbell snatch and the dumbbell clean and jerk in MMA Live. And you're probably thinking, Christina, what? That was probably really high pitched on this audio. I apologize. I can't help it sometimes. And we think about this a lot because momentum for our older adults who are losing function is sometimes our friend, right? If we have a client who isn't strong enough to get out of their chair with or without upper extremity assist, we're going to be encouraging the use of momentum while we are strengthening the lower extremity, because if they don't use momentum, they can't do it at all. So important things for us to be considering, and when we enable or we encourage the use of momentum, then sometimes tasks that feel like it could be a little bit out of reach for our older adults become a little bit more possible. So for example, if we teach a push press and we use a dumbbell or we use a landmine variation, it might allow them to put that pot up into a cupboard that they weren't able to do before, or they had to leave on their counter until a family member came and put it back up there. And it's been up there for the last 20 years, so they're not willing to change its placement, and I totally am agreeing with that. So we teach this a lot, and we talk about how this is sometimes more useful than you think, right? If you have a person who has a cat and they have to, get the cat litter, having that clean where they can use momentum to get the kitty litter up to their shoulders so they can put it away is also something that actually has a good transfer over to function. Okay, so let's go back to our Bill avatar, that low-level seated avatar. And people think, well, there's no way I could do anything like this with him. Well, absolutely. Take the arm of the wheelchair down, have a dumbbell by your side, and can pop it up as quickly as possible, right? We can pop up from here. We can try and do a little bit of dip. We're not going to get a dip from our lower body like we would for a push press, but trying to get that stretch reflex, even if that's here to here, right? I'm usually not too worried about that because the weight isn't going to be high enough for us to see any sort of issue. And then, so we have the clean, we have the stretch reflex overhead lift, and then we have either between our legs or on the side, we can pull up into that snatch. My kind of Jerry PT specific physio magic trick is that sometimes my clients with a really cranky shoulder, for some reason, they can usually start working into those overhead ranges by doing push presses with the landmine variation if you're an outpatient clinician, or getting them to do really low weight snatches, because you're using some of that momentum from the hip, which we're trying to encourage that use. Especially because hip extension can be really limited in our older adult population, especially in a person who doesn't spend a ton of time in standing during their day. So thinking that home health client, and for some reason we can get a little bit of overhead volume for our client who even against gravity has a lot of pain with overhead reaching. So things that we can be utilizing for our client who is in sitting. Okay, so for our client who is standing, are able to stand with a walker, I love doing things like a dumbbell snatch where, again, they're holding on to the walker and they're moving one arm, right? So trying to encourage a bit of that hip extension. Weight is fairly low, even starting with just quick arm movements with no weight, that intentional underdosage can start working on a bit of that internal perturbation training, reacting to their arm going up overhead, starting to work on speed. That can easily be DC'd to the home exercise program. And then we can start again with very light weight, working on the clean. Right? We're not worried about getting into an overhead squat or anything like that with our older adults. Oftentimes I'm not even on the snatch cueing that drop under. We're not worrying about it. We're worrying about getting that force transfer from the hip, trying to encourage that hip extension and allowing that momentum to start being our friend and being an additional avenue that we can kind of tap into when we need to in order for our clients who are very close to losing independent function to be able to get a little bit more reserve or oomph for the completion of ADLs and IADLs. So some examples for you. I hope you found that helpful. If you haven't been signed up for MMOA Digest, it just went out on Friday. That is our Jerry specific rehab exercise. So if you are interested in signing up for that, go to ptonice.com/resources. Otherwise, I hope you found this helpful. If you have other examples of exercises, please post them below. I would love to get more of a library of exercises for me to bring some flair to some of my exercise programs for my older adult. I hope my audio wasn't too bad, and I hope you all have a wonderful end of your week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.